Making your way in the world today takes everything you've got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? Be glad there's one place in the world where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You wanna go where people know people are all the same. You wanna go where everybody knows your name.
So good to see all of you here, especially those that attended the Sweat Lodge last night, because I know if it wasn't for the commitment I've made to my life's mission to create and hold a safe space, I'd be in bed right now. It was a beautiful experience, and we'll talk about that later. CUL stands for the Center of Universal Light. And we are a community of spiritual healers. Everyone here, whether you have a spiritual practice or not, you are a spiritual healer, because we're here to do our own spiritual healing. And that's what this center is for, is to support you in that work, that spiritual healing work. This is why we have no dogma, no rules or oaths or pledges to take. We make a commitment to ourselves to do our work, and when we keep our commitment, then we are in integrity. And when we don't, we are out of accountability with ourselves. We are open to all people of all religions, races, or genders. We hold a space here for all of you to gather to receive what you need to hear or feel in order that we can come into an experience of the mystical union of oneness. Because when that happens, your life will be changed forever. We offer a high-quality experience of music, message, and mantras, and ask only that you leave your emotional baggage at the door, including your preconceived notions, your prejudices, your old beliefs, and expectations. And all we ask in return of you is for you to reciprocate with your own support and gratitude monetarily, in accordance with what you have received from us, to help CUL continue to bring this experience to the community of Cottonwood. The name Center of Universal Light is just another name for God, Goddess, Source, Creation. Is that me? Somebody calling me? No, mine's on mute. Have y'all muted yours? Good. We use many names because there's only one God, but many names for that God. In fact, we don't even use God that often because it has such a negative connotations in many ways because of the way it's been used by the patriarchy. And it has that male connotation. And we know the source of all light and love has no gender. I'm not asking anyone to change their beliefs, which are comfortable and familiar to them. But what we share here will challenge those beliefs and cause you to stretch beyond your ego-based ideas that keep you limited. Our basic premise here is that there is a universal thinking mind from which all things are made, and which, in its original state, permeates, penetrates, and fills the interspaces of this universe. A thought in this substance produces the thing that is imagined by the thought. We can form things in our thoughts, and by impressing our thought upon this formless substance, cause the things we think about to be created. In order to do this, we must lay aside all other concepts of the universe other than this one idea, and dwell upon it only, and fix it into our minds so it becomes a habitual thought. Do not listen to any arguments against this idea. Do not go to any churches or lectures where contrary concepts of things to this are taught or preached. Do not read magazines or books which teach a different idea, because if you get mixed up in your faith, not belief, your faith, all your efforts will be in vain. We must take this on trust, on faith. Do not ask why these things are true or speculate on how they can be true. The science of co-creating with the universal thinking mind consciousness begins with the absolute acceptance of this faith. This is my faith, my truth, and my guidance. I am the center of universal light, as are you. The Spirit of the Divine dwells within me. The power of the universal mind is the essence of my being and my becoming. Today I witness the energy of love manifesting in my life. With mindful awareness and an open heart, I surrender the will of my humanness, my human will, to the higher will of my soul consciousness. Therefore, from the source of all light and love, I bless you. In blessings, in light and love for the self, the community, and planet Earth, I welcome you. I'm Reverend Arvel Bird, co-creator of the Center of Universal Light. Thank you. Drove down to Mesa with me on Friday, where I performed at the Mariposa rest home.
Yeah, assisted living.
Assisted living.
Rest home.
Then she stayed, her mother lives there, and she stayed behind and enjoyed a family reunion and a fun time with her extended family. Big group, big family. And then she drove back this morning. So she went to bed at 11, got up and drove 2.5 hours to be here this morning.
It's worth
and
it.
put the slides together.
Oh.
She's an amazing woman. Isn't she? And all of this in the midst of preparing a message for today.
Well, therein lies the issue. No. You know, every time I do this, as you guys know that have been here a while, I write pages and pages of stuff. I do research. I write blather. I just start writing, and then I start putting it into some kind of format, and I write it out again, and I copy it, and then I write it, and then sometimes, like this week, I just trash it and start over, like on Thursday. So that's always a lot more exciting for me. Holy crap, Arvel says I just pull it out of my, pull it out of my hat. Yeah. So that's it. My family name is Kelly, so that's what I go by. And
what are the Kellys known for?
They are known for their BS factor. Give us any topic and we can talk about it ad nauseum and we're happy to do that. But anyway, today I want to talk about, I think I was trying to go with some kind of a freedom theme, but I was having trouble connecting with that. So I ended up just talking about light beyond the shadows. Because I have to tell you, one came up yesterday, but first I want to tell you this. When troubles gather and the billows roll, dark the way before you, caress suppress the soul. There's a blessed sunshine just beyond your view of 'tis but a trial you are going through. These are our shadows. That was part of a song written by Irvin H. Mack called Light Beyond the Shadows in 1900. I love those things. So I went to, and this is all relevant to my talk today. I was, like Arvel said, I was down at my mom's, and we went to my brother's 50th wedding anniversary this weekend. To the same person. Well, I'm on 30, so I'm on track for 50. So Mom and I were driving down yesterday afternoon, right about 3:30, and we started driving up we went down 202, and we're heading to the I-17, or I-10, to go on over to Tucson, well, actually Marana. So I'm driving along, all of a sudden, my chest starts tightening. I said, oh, something ain't right here. My chest tightens, my breathing gets shallow, my pulse starts really pounding, my head starts getting light, and I realized I missed my turn. Yeah. First I didn't, so then first I had to go through, this I knew was one of those shadows. This is something that has come up for me over and over and over again. Coincidentally, it's the same turn that I missed with Arvel a few weeks ago when we went down to that Maricopa school. I don't know why. So,
Coyote.
yeah, I got to get to the coyote. So I missed my turn. So first I thought, okay, this is the perfect time to work on this, but I couldn't call Arvel to have him kind of talk me through the shadow thing, because I've never done shadow work like Arvel has. So I didn't really know the process, but I knew I could do it myself, and I knew I had to do it right then while it was active in me. You know that feeling? I mean, you can go back and say, oh yeah, I remember one time I had this thing happen, but it doesn't really have the effect you need as when you do your work right then and there. So that's what I did. And I realized, I thought, what do I believe about myself? That I'm incompetent, that I'm unreliable, that I'm a terrible planner, and that I never pay attention. Carl Jung says, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will think of it as fate. Arvel says it a little more clearly when he says, they're lies that we believe about ourselves. They're just lies. The shadow is also a psychological term for everything we can't see in ourselves. It's a belief that generates the programming that subconsciously runs our knee-jerk reactions, and always negative reactions to something that's happened in our life at that moment. It's always a negative thing, and that's how you know it is a shadow. So next time you have something like that happen, be aware. If it's a negative response, oh, that just really ticked me off. Oh, can you believe how stupid that person is? You got to stop yourself right then and say, okay, what's going on with me? Because it's never about that other person. It's always about me. So these are the shadows that we're always looking at trying to fix. So we have a friend that didn't begin speaking until she was 4 years old. She just didn't speak. So her parents, who were concerned, took her to the family doctor and said, I don't know why she won't speak. I don't know what's going on. So the doctor examines her and talks to her and declares her retarded. 4 years old. So the little girl doesn't really understand. She doesn't really know what that means, but they start treating her differently. They start treating her like she's retarded, as that's their word back then. She's in her 60s. So she doesn't really know what all that means, but she's treated differently now. So she starts talking, a couple of years after that, and she's talking in, let's say, a language that is not from this world. So her concerned parents, once again, now take her to a priest. and the priest declares her evil, possessed, and bad. So he spanks her, all the while saying, this is the hand of God spanking you because you're bad, and trying to beat the whatever out of her. So you can just guess what she grew up with, right? She is bad. She is possessed. She is, gosh, what else did? She's retarded. Now she has a speech impediment because she's terrified of speaking, of saying something wrong. What she was doing, now that she's gone back and done her work, is she was speaking to her guides and her angels. She had a beautiful, perfect connection that had never been broken once she was born. So she had this wonderful time speaking to these guides until the priest spanked her with the hand of God. So now she thinks that men are evil, are mean, not evil, but men are evil or mean. They're hurtful, they're hateful. God is mean, hurtful, and hateful. And so she can't trust any of them. So what do you think this does to her relationships? Exactly. She has terrible relations. She had terrible relationships with men. So she finally did her work. And she has now that she's identified all these things about herself, she understands that she is neither retarded, she does not have a speech impediment anymore, probably never really did. She's actually quite bright, and she has a thriving, successful business. So this is what can happen when you do your work. But how do you go through that process? And this is what I want to talk to you about, because in that immediately feeling when I thought I was irresponsible, I was incompetent, all these things I was believing about myself or came up in that circumstance, what actually caused me to feel was anger and shame. And I thought, Christ, it's just a turn. So I have to stop myself in that moment and say, what do I want to feel? What do I want to feel about this? Well, I want to feel competent. I want to feel confident while I'm driving. I want to feel peace. And I want to feel love, most of all. I don't want to be angry at myself. I don't want to feel shame. So all this is going through my head while I'm driving. Keep in mind I have a 94-year-old mother that can't hear very well. And so she's talking really loud, and I'm trying to stay focused and do this work because I know it's critical. This has gone on for years. Arvo would say, do you know where you're going? We'd head out to a gig, and he'd say, do you know where you're going? And I took it as a personal affront, like, shut up. But that was just feeding. That was giving me that mirror to do the work. And I just never identified it as a shadow. So this is what came up for me just yesterday. So what you do, so this is how I got through it. So I identified what I believed about myself. I believed about how I felt, how that made me feel about myself. And then I asked myself, how do you want to feel? So I come up with those 4 things. Almost every time I go through one of those processes, it ends with love. How do you want to feel? I want to feel love. I want to go to my brother's 50th freaking wedding anniversary party with love, not anger and shame. How do you think I'm going to show up there? So as soon as I did that, and I started collapsing each one, okay, I'm not incompetent. So I took them one by one. I took all the old beliefs. I say, okay, I'm not incompetent. Look at all these times I've done very competent things. Very happy with the things I've done. There's nothing wrong with this. So I collapsed that one. Okay, that one's gone. Confident. I live my life with a lot of confidence now. So I go through one by one, and I bring up those certain instances where I lived and I felt confident in what I did. Okay, that one's collapsed. So I just kept doing this over and over with each belief I had about myself. This is an NLP procedure too. It's a little different actual process, but it's how we do. We collapse each of these beliefs we have about ourselves. You have to, because you can't get the good stuff until you collapse the old crappy stuff. So then I went through peace. All the times I have felt peace, I remember those times. I play those in my mind. And these take split seconds to do. This does not take years of work. I'm telling you, this stuff works really fast. And then finally, when was the last time I felt love? Love looking at my honey. Love looking at my mother. Love looking at my family. And love looking at my doggies. I mean, I feel total unconditional love there. My legs get all jello and... So I collapsed each one of those, and I started immediately feeling lighter, emotionally, physically, spiritually. And that's what's on the other side of the shadow. When you do your shadow work, you don't want to get stuck in the shadow. And I think that's when Arva was talking about doing your shadow work, you bring it to the front, and I'm like, okay, then what? Well, my then what is, I look in the shadow for what the gold is. I look in the shadow for what is that thing that my shadow has for me on the other side. What is that thing? Is it more confidence? Is it more love? What is that? So you find those things that are in there for you to take with you out of the shadow. And now you're standing in your beautiful personal light. And you can shine that to the rest of the world. That's what's on the other side of the shadow. That's what's through the shadow. Sometimes you don't get an opportunity to just stop and analyze these things, right? I mean, you may be driving on 202 with your mother next to you, and you're just missed your... So you might not have the opportunity to just stop and analyze the situation. Something I do now, because I've started talking to my guides, is I call them. I talk to my inner guide, that I call Ing, inner guide, Ing. Anyway, okay, she's Asian, I'll admit it. So I say, Ing, I am completely out of accountability with peace. Please, what's my word? Please reinterpret this situation for me. Let me see it with love. That's it. Thank you. That's all I do. And right there, I give it up, I surrender, I let it go, I don't have to worry about it anymore. It's done. And immediately I feel lighter and better. And it's always the light. The dark is what keeps you in low vibration, low frequency. If it's a shadow, it's a darkness you don't want to hang on to. The light is what you're aspiring to. And the light are the lessons in life. And I suspect they're probably lessons that we came here to learn, don't you think? I mean, I don't know that it's quite that organized of a process, but I think we come here not just willy-nilly. I think we probably come here just with an idea. I think this time I'm going to be, neurotic. I'm going to have a lot of anxiety, and I'm going to figure out how to do this so I can help somebody else on the other side. So I think there's just a lot of processes that we can learn to do, and the biggest one that I have learned is to address those shadows. There's a lot of words for a lot of shadows, and you can take them one by one, and it's very quick. So that is my thought for you as to things that you can do with your shadows. This is going to be a short talk because we've had a lot going on today, but I just want to go through those steps, and you can write them down if you like to. So to get through your shadow and create that light, have that light within you that shines, have that lightness that causes you to feel free. And this is the only tie I really am feeling right now with freedom, is that because I have freedom all the time, but my freedom is expanded when I feel light. When I don't have those shadows, when I'm not triggered by something, that's a shadow. Anytime you're triggered, that's a shadow. Look at it, love it, appreciate it, say thank you to it, and then let it go. Work the process. What is it? What do you believe about yourself? What do you feel? They're usually not very good things. Then collapse them one by one by one. Remember all the times you were competent. Remember all the times you were loved and loving. Remember all the times that people admired what you did. Those are the times, that's light within you. So, acknowledge you have shadows, identify them, name your lies about yourself, name your emotions about the lies, and as Byron Katie would say, turn it around. How do you want to feel? Was it the truth about yourself? Are you really stupid? I don't think so. Are you really incompetent? Nah, I don't think so. What's the truth about yourself? So name the ways you are perfect. Thank the shadow for showing you that. Then hold your head high. Grab that golden treasure out of the middle of that shadow and walk on. And just keep walking, because you are the light. Every time you do that, you shine your light brighter. The light in you helps other people, whether you're aware of it or not. The light within you helps other people heal. We're all connected. Every time you do something positive, every time your light brightens, which is why we do a lot of meditations with light, putting lights in your balls, in your hands, the balls of lights, putting them, rubbing them together and putting them into your chest. Every time you do that, you are sharing that with the world, with the planet. And what more do we need? What more do we need? We're never going to be a perfect place. Well, we are a perfect place. We're never going to not have contrast. We're never going to not have conflict. We are a duality. The earth lives in duality. If we didn't have darkness, we would never see the light. If we didn't have night, we would never have day. If we didn't have meanness, if we didn't have anger, we would never know peace. So our job, to the best that we can do, is to make a decision right now. Okay, this is our version of the altar call, okay? So we don't do the altar call, but this is our version of it. So I want to hear right now that you are going to make the choice to live your best life through the light. Can I get an amen? Amen. All right. Yeah. You are the center of universal light. It's your responsibility. Everybody here wants to make the world a better place. Is that right? Yeah. I mean, we don't want to condemn people. We don't want to judge people for what they're doing. That is negative stuff. That is dark stuff. We don't need it. All we need to do is focus on our prayer. Our prayer. And our prayer for the world, for the universe, is light, love, and beauty. And you are the center of universal light. I love you. Thank you very much.
You see why I'm so proud of her?
Aww.
Isn't she fantastic?
You are so sweet.